there, Jarchomp Collectibles fans. We are back at it with another ChompCast, and I am so excited to do episode 2 with my sweetheart, Franny Joe. We've got a really cool lineup of topics to discuss today, but the main thing we want to chat about is going to be how did we get here, and specifically, how did Franny get here, right? Because over the past couple of months, or I guess maybe the 6 or 8 months since we've been posting videos, you've been able to see kind of bits about how I got to where I am now and quitting corporate job and, competing in mixed martial arts and where I grew up and where we're living and all that kind of stuff. But the other half of Jarchomp Collectibles is Fran, and many of you have come up to the table and been very complimentary about her editing skills and her consistency and hard work in putting out all this incredible content for the channel. But, other than that, there hasn't been too much discourse about how exactly you came to be involved in the trading card space with me and whether or not you like it or kind of what your goals are for the future. So maybe we just kind of dive right in right there because we had a video where I talked about my career journey. Maybe let's start right there with you. So where'd you come from a career standpoint, and how did you end up where you are now making YouTube videos for a Pokemon card channel?
Yeah. My career, I grew up on a cattle ranch in Nebraska, and obviously growing up working with your family, you're just working the whole time. I started getting paid when I was 14. I came to Utah for school and I studied exercise science. And then after school, I had a myriad of jobs during school, but after school, we moved to Texas for a little bit. Mm-hmm. I got a job at a health tech company. I worked there for nearly 3 years.
Yep.
And then left that just kind of spur of the moment. That's kind of how we do things.
Yeah.
As you guys probably can guess from him learning his job as well. If you guys are all into human design, we're both manifesting generators. So they're a little bit they dream it and then they do it. So yeah. I left that and then got a job with another health tech company, which is Headspace, a meditation app. And I worked there for 2.5 years.
Yeah.
And again, it was just started feeling like I wasn't aligning with that and wasn't loving it. And so I left in April of last year and then had no plans on going in on this with Jake. But I think it was the week after I left, my job was our first out-of-state card show.
Yeah. And
I was like, I'm going to go, I'm going to help. It was the Pasadena Front Row Card Show. We went to... we kind of made an experience and went to the Huntington Botanical Gardens and
that was so fun.
Just had a fun weekend, a challenging weekend. I was like, this is so deeply out of my comfort zone, but super fun. And then I think the next weekend was a Denver card show.
Yeah, we went pretty crazy.
And then 2 weekends after that was Phoenix.
Yep.
And it was just all of a sudden, because Jake, if he decides to do something, he's just going to do it.
Yeah.
All of a sudden, I'm just going with him to these shows. And so I didn't even really have the time to think about what my next job was going to be because I left with the intention of figuring out what the next thing was going to be. And then we kind of got to the point where it was all right, we're doing this a lot. And
yes.
I hadn't really consumed very much vendor content at all. I think I would sometimes sit and watch Entropy Doctor with Jake, him and his wife, do some vendor POV content. And I was like, that's kind of fun. That's cute. And we talked about buying a camera. And so we set it up for the Las Vegas Front Row because
yep.
Jake had been to that one before as a customer,
yep.
as a attendee, not as a vendor. And so he kind of had an idea of it. And so we were like, let's set up. And it was super daunting the first time.
The other thing that made us feel like we should bring a camera to that show was I had just done a big trade / buy for a base set booster box,
Yeah.
a sealed base set booster box. And it's not every day that, you know, in the hobby you come across one of those kind of really more expensive items. And so in the off chance that it sold, we brought the camera to record that, and that
Yeah.
ended up being our
first
first kind of
video.
like vendor point of view video for
Yeah.
the channel. So I guess maybe first question for you on that front is, we get that footage and we bring it home, and you know that video really popped off. Like it's for a channel at that time that had like 50 subscribers or less, maybe 20.
I think you had 20.
Yeah.
Because Jake had posted like 3 or 4 videos.
Yeah.
In January of 2024.
Yeah.
And was just doing it totally himself.
Yeah, just like some collector stuff, nerdy.
Yeah, it was,
you know.
and it was just January. Like, he didn't touch it again until July.
Right.
So, yeah, I think you had like 22.
Yeah, so I had really nothing. So,
Yeah.
what did you do? What was kind of the formula that made that first video pop off and kind of, I guess, kickstart what has been a really rapid growth of the channel from a subscriber and view standpoint?
Yeah. I think it's a complex answer because there's different things that went into this. I've like made content like for myself before because obviously I was in the health and wellness space, and so I was making like health and wellness content, and so I knew to a certain degree how to edit, especially like CapCut, which is a very intuitive video editing platform. I'd used that before. I'd even like been so aspirational, and I was like, I'm gonna take a YouTuber course, and I took the
I remember that.
I probably forgot that. In 2021,
Yes.
I took the Ali Abdal YouTuber course.
And you made some cool videos.
PTYA, Part-Time YouTuber Academy, because I was
Right.
working at the same time. And yeah, I think I made 3 videos.
Yeah.
You're supposed to make like 12.
Oh.
And I like real fast. I was like, this is a lot. It felt like a lot of work. You get immediate feedback, and it was like
There's a community and
it
criticism.
which is really cool, but I didn't finish that course. I think I got 3 weeks in. And so I had like a certain idea, and I've consumed lots of content on like how to make YouTube videos. But I think with the base set box, it was truly like I was coming into a space that I had not consumed a lot of content in, other than like seeing a few videos from Entropy Doctor.
Yeah.
And so I had just this like kind of blank slate perspective. And now that I'm looking back at like the intro and the outro and the gifs, the laughing gifs that I add in and the little edits, it's because I hadn't like watched anybody else's content to like put a box around what I was going to do.
You didn't know that there were any rules or expectations for that kind of content.
Yeah, and from an outsider's perspective, like the money part of it, I don't care at all about. Like sometimes even the negotiations, I'm like, this is too long of a negotiation. We need to like And so, but I have like, I love K-dramas. I love anime. Like I love like, you know, kind of cute slapstick humor,
Whimsical.
like Avatar: The Last Airbender humor. And so I was like, how do I add that in? And it was never really like, oh, I want to add that in. It was like, they're laughing a lot. I want to like make that compelling. Yeah. You know, add something in that's kind of cute to that moment.
Yeah, well, there's kind of like that energy that's going on between, like, let's say me and one of the customers at the table. Yeah. And the reason that we're having such a good time is because we're just kind of in our zone, just doing something for our hobby. Yeah. It's not work. We're playing around. Yeah. And so like that type of editing approach kind of accentuates that type of whimsical, like we're all doing this, and it's
this is not a necessity.
Yeah. Yeah. I love that. You touched on something, or we both kind of mentioned it, that I think is really important for other people who are aspiring creators, which is that, you know, I tried to make some YouTube traction in January of 2024. You took a course and kind of went all the way in on trying to.
Yeah, it was a lot of money.
It was money, it was time, it was equipment and all that stuff in
Yeah.
2021.
Yeah.
And both of us kind of just like, yeah, right? So like, what is it about this time that we have, because like, you know, we can speak to this. You have now posted a full-length video, at least one, oftentimes two per week for like 25 consecutive weeks.
Yeah, since mid-July.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's significant. Like most people aren't, not that they're not able to do that, but that they just don't. And in the past, we haven't.
Yeah, no, even when it was like our actual goal,
Right.
like a real intention that we had.
And we had put money and committed to people, but we still kind of flamed out, I guess. So why is this time different, and what's kind of helped propel you through those inevitably grindy times where you're in, you know, week 10, week 15 or whatever, and you're going through that process of bulk editing footage and all this stuff and staying up late, and why have you been so consistent this time?
I think the pressure was off when it came to making videos for you.
Okay.
About Pokemon.
Yeah.
Because like health and wellness, that's something that I studied. I like worked with, you know, different companies on. I had a deep understanding of. I consumed so much content about. And so I was like kind of immediately comparing my day one content to these like, you know, 4 years in
Incredibly
content.
high bar.
Yeah, like if you guys know YouTubers like Natasha Ocean from the UK has millions of subscribers, and I was comparing my like third video to her video, and it was something that I really deeply cared about. And not that I don't care about Pokemon and your business, but you were working a full-time job when we started.
Yeah.
It was not our intention to go full-time.
Yeah, the stakes were low.
Yeah, the stakes were low. It was just kind of for fun.
Yeah.
But like, I guess the consistency part is having someone I was accountable to. Like knowing that you would be wanting to see the content, and you would be like, hey, you know, let's put out that base set booster box video. Let's put out more of the Vegas content.
Yeah.
And I think I didn't realize, because most of our like viral YouTube shorts or TikToks are from that very first Vegas show.
Yeah.
and it's because I had no like boundaries, not in a bad way, but I didn't have any like, oh, people on the internet are gonna like say crazy things about this, and they're gonna have super huge opinions. I was like, whatever, they're making a Pokemon card deal, or they're not making one. Right. Like it
some of those are pretty what's the word?
Slapstick.
Yeah, there's some of those shorts that we put out that there was some confrontation in some of those videos, right? Like I said no to some people, and they kind of came back with some attitude or whatever, right? And so like maybe early on we were just like, yeah, let's just put this out there, and whatever happens. Maybe, well, do you think that's kind of changed now that there's more of an audience?
Yeah.
Tell me about that.
If you guys haven't noticed, we haven't put out shorts in like a month. And that's because I think that our long form audience is so nice, so amazing. I love reading all the comments. Like so kind. I like know some of you because you comment every video.
Yeah. Really sweet people.
Yeah, and then you get to like short form content, and I've talked about this with some. I have like a friend who's kind of in a content creation space, and they're taking 6 seconds of context or 30 seconds of context and making that into your entire personality.
Right.
Into like all of the person that you are.
Totally.
From just a few seconds and making like a hard judgment from 30 seconds of seeing you interact in like a setting that like, you know, you do weekend shows. Yeah. That's 14 hours of your week. Right. Like that's not all of Jake in the slightest. And so it did get kind of hard there for a while when I was seeing like people making just like crazy judgments. Yeah. About you. Yeah. And it wasn't about me, it was about you, but I was like, I don't want people to be doing that. Like it's lame.
You know, there's like kind of like the defensiveness that comes into it, and there's that battle of like, okay, like how much attention do we pay to relatively negative comments versus the positive
Yeah,
ones.
you don't care.
Not that I don't care. It's just I would just my mind is it goes to the logical place of like, okay, 99% of the people, almost all of you guys have just been incredibly supportive, complimentary,
Yeah.
kind, in person, online, etc. And so like those are the people that I know that we're resonating with and who we want to continue to show up for.
Yeah.
And the crazies that just kind of pop in and talk a little bit of crap and then move on, like I'm not really trying to live my life for them anyways.
Yeah.
So
And you don't care to have them as, because the reason that we're putting videos out is marketing.
yeah.
Like that's what it kind of is for your business.
Yeah.
And so for one, that person probably isn't going to a card show anyway.
Sure.
And if they are, like they can walk by. Like now we're getting lines and just amazing people. Like the Vegas show, I had just the best time because there was the nicest people coming up and giving stuff to hand out to kids.
Yeah.
And giving you stuff. And you guys saw it in the last video. Michael, another vendor, came and gave us like some Coke Zeros, which was like so clutch on
Yeah.
day
If
2.
you want to get on Franny's good side, just deliver a Coke Zero.
Yeah. And so, yeah, you have to come back to like what's reality.
Yeah.
And don't get, because I love the analytics. I love reading the comments.
Yeah.
But you can't get like sucked up into that.
Yeah. Let me ask you a harder question. You went to college and then you also have this incredibly, kind of fairy tale background of growing up on a cattle ranch in a small town, and that can be a huge part of someone's identity. Mm-hmm. And you go to college and you get this degree in health and wellness. Mm-hmm. And, we were both working in corporate jobs and making good money, and it seemed like we were about to have a pretty standard experience, right? Like we're married and we save up and we buy a house and then we have kids, right? And we've kind of gone away from all of that. And now we're making YouTube content about a Pokemon card hobby and a business that we're trying to grow. How does that make you feel that you've made this huge pivot? Is that kind of hard to reconcile at all?
I think if you know us personally, we've made some other huge life pivots.
True.
And so it's just becoming standard for us, I guess.
We just burn the bridges every year or so.
Yeah, we've moved on from like a religion. We've moved on from corporate life, at least right now we have.
Yeah.
Even like, you're going to be 31 in a few weeks. I'm 29. We've been married for 9 years in August.
Yeah.
Like most people be like, oh, shouldn't you have kids by now? And like eventually, but that's another thing that we're just kind of like not following the crowd, I guess.
Yeah.
And so I don't know, it's part of the journey, it's part of the experience. I even like, shared a little personal social media update and had some cowboys that I grew up with, like the fathers of my friends commenting like, wow, it definitely doesn't sound like branding cattle, or like
it definitely flew the nest.
Yeah, you're out there. So I don't know, it's just kind of like an experience, and not saying we're gonna do this forever.
Yeah.
Not saying we're not gonna do this forever.
Yeah.
Just like see where it takes us.
Okay. A couple of quick hitter questions. What are you most excited about with this venture that we have embarked on?
I think working together.
Yeah?
Yeah.
That's very sweet.
Because that's something that we both have wanted to do for a long time.
Yeah.
And just spending more time together. Like if you work corporate jobs, you're seeing each other for 3-4 hours in the evenings.
I know, yeah. You see you see strangers more than you see your spouse.
Yeah,
it's terrible.
And then recovering on the weekends and cleaning your house and grocery shopping, like that's all you're really doing together, is just like managing life outside of your corporate job.
Yeah.
Versus like experiencing life. We've traveled a ton for these card shows, and not to say it hasn't been hard. Like
we're gonna get into that.
It's definitely stretched us.
Yes.
In ways I was like not expecting at all when we started.
Yeah.
Oh, if you guys can hear our cat, it's dinner time.
Yeah, she's excited.
She's outside. Outside the door. But yeah, it's been it's been good, but kind of stretched us.
Let's go into that. So, I think that there's a possibility that by putting out such positive content about something that is relatively whimsical, there can be kind of an interpretation of, oh, these people just kind of are just happy all the time and business is just constantly booming. And because you see all these transactions on camera, it must mean that we're incredibly financially successful and this is the best thing that we've ever done. And leaving corporate was so obvious. But it isn't like that.
No.
So, what are some of the hard things that, we've had to work through and some things that are kind of daunting?
Yeah, I think when we both had our full-time corporate jobs, we were very, very comfortable and financially and in our habits, in how our separation of our relationship, like you have your job, I have my job, we have our, different household duties.
Yeah.
And so I think with both of us being outside of the corporate space and going full time together on this, it's been like a renegotiation of, okay, what are you doing? What am I doing?
Yeah.
How are we spending our time? And then especially with the travel for the card shows, you're traveling all day Friday. It's Saturday, Sunday of like the most intense, like you guys don't see it because I can't even get more than the first 3 hours of the card shows into our first 3 episodes.
Yeah.
of our vendor POV that we're putting out. Like he's doing just hundreds and hundreds of transactions and interactions in a day.
Yeah.
But again, and so on the money side, like it seems like it's going really well, but we're still figuring out all of the, logistics with the business and
how do you
insurance.
pay your rent and how do you separate personal income from business income?
Yeah, and like travel expenses. And so that has just been so new to navigate because we had both been in the corporate space for 6+ years and really had that nailed down.
Yeah.
And then, like coming back on Monday, you're exhausted from the card shows.
Oh.
And then we need to put a video out on Friday. And so there's been so many like 4 a.m. Thursday night, finish the video, fall asleep, wake up to check it in 3 hours to make sure like everything's good.
Yeah.
There's been like quite a few of those, definitely mostly like midnight, 1 a.m. Like that's pretty standard.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's figuring out just how to section off your time so you're not just burning the candle at both ends. But
Yeah.
it's been growth promoting. It's been growing pains. Like we've had to learn a lot about each other and how we work. And then also, working from home together, with the content, we are traveling for the card shows, but when you're working from home together, it's like, how do we stay disciplined, but also not just be machines?
Yeah.
And
how do you treat your business partner like your wife?
yeah, and how do you like still have the time to work out, and how do you still have the time to see friends? And it's all been an adjustment.
Yeah.
Certainly.
It is.
And go to the gym. Like I have friends at the gym who are texting me like, haven't seen you for a while. And I'm like, I know. It's because with the travel especially, that's very new for us.
Yeah.
We're
homebody
people
for sure
before the travel for the card shows.
Yeah. Yeah, thanks for that transparency. It's I think a couple of things people don't always see, and we've kind of mentioned it, but like the grind of the editing or for me the grind of being at the card show, like, on my feet for 10, 12 straight hours. Don't eat, don't use the restroom.
Doesn't sit down.
Talk to a stranger, like a new stranger every 3 to 5 minutes for hours and hours in a row.
Yeah.
It's tough, like it's challenging. And like the only reason that I think either of us feel like this is something we can do for the long term and build a business around it is because of all those benefits, right? All the benefits of being our own boss and
working together
and, working around a product that is it's a commodity and not a necessity, and
Yeah.
it feels very playful, and that's cool as well.
Yeah.
Let's get into a section where we can kind of help other people and kind of pull back the curtain, so to speak, about our approach to this, right? Because there are a lot of content creators making vendor POV content,
Yeah.
and for some reason we have gained a lot of traction, and experienced a lot of success. Thanks to all of you guys and watching and
Yeah.
interacting with us, contributing to the comments and sharing and all that kind of stuff. So we thank you, but we also know that they wouldn't do that if it wasn't good content. So what are some of the things that that you're thinking about? What's your approach? What are the what's the mind frame you're putting yourself in to make a video that someone else is really going to want to watch?
For one, when you're making it, it doesn't feel how the end product is going to feel. Like,
What do you mean?
It's like working out.
Yeah.
The actual process is kind of sucky.
Yeah. Training in your garage gym sucks.
Yeah, it kind of doesn't feel good, but the end product, once you see that, it does feel really good. So I think remembering the editing is probably not going to feel like amazing.
Yeah.
Especially all the time.
Yeah.
It's going to feel grindy because it's so many micro decisions you're making just over and over and over again.
Yeah.
So that's the first thing. I would say the second thing is try to consume less content of the thing that you're trying to make. Because I think like the unique advantage that I had becoming like your YouTube editor is
Sure.
I didn't have a lot of preconceived notions of what a vendor video was supposed to be.
Yeah.
Because you might see a lot of vendor videos like focusing on the money and like doing, and no judgment, but doing like a cash register sound whenever there's a deal done.
Sure.
And that's not something I naturally lean towards, and so it was more so like just coming from yourself versus what you're seeing other people doing.
Yeah.
So if you're trying to make content, try to consume less content, because I think something that has been good for us is it's just been like authentically you on the camera.
Yeah.
And then authentically me editing.
Yeah.
Because I didn't have a lot of ideas of this is exactly how it should be and this is how other people are doing it and this is how they're being successful.
Yeah. I love that perspective, and I think it really meshes. One of the reasons we're such a good team is because that approach where you're trying to create a video that would be entertaining for really anyone to watch, right? Not just someone who's deep into the Pokemon card market.
Yeah.
You're trying to make a video that would be approachable to anyone of any experience as it concerns the card hobby. And that really meshes with how I like to approach vending, which is trying to curate an experience that would be rewarding for someone who has entered the hobby yesterday or someone who's been in it for 15, 20 years.
Yeah.
And being able to meet them where they are, and make sure that they know that, they're in good hands and it's a safe place and they can come back,
Yeah. Yeah. Because when I'm making the video, I'm thinking about my cowboy dad and my ranch wife mom who are, the sweetest, most amazing people, but have no idea about Pokemon.
Right.
And so I'm thinking about them and that I still want it to be entertaining to them and intriguing to them.
Yeah.
And so I guess, also thinking about what's the energy you're trying to give. Like if you are trying to talk to people who are more interested in the financial side of the hobby, then do the cash register money sound effect, do the emphasis on the cash laid out on the table.
Right.
But if that's not the people you're trying to talk to, think about them.
Yeah, what's the story you're trying to tell?
Yeah.
And shout out to your mom for always celebrating all of our milestones in the comment
Yes,
section.
she does.
So. Well, let's dovetail into kind of a future goals for you, right? Because at the end of the day, building a business is always something that, in year one, you have certain goals, and by the time you get to year 2 or 3 or 5, those goals may be just kind of seem like automatic things that you just do because you're successful.
I'm sorry, our kitty. Our cat is just meowing so much.
She'll be okay. She's going to survive this.
Okay.
What I wanted to ask was, where do you want this to go? Because my guess is you don't want to just be a YouTube editor for a Pokemon card channel for the rest of your life. So, like, what would you like to see happen? What are your goals here?
Well, on a side note, my collection goals. I love vintage Mews.
Oh.
And I'm looking for a Gold Star Mew.
Yeah, shameless plug. If you have a relatively clean Gold Star Mew
Binder copy,
let us know.
Yeah.
So that Franny can finish her vintage Mew page.
That's where my mind went.
I love that.
I think supporting you in something that feels so authentic for you, because your talents and skills are kind of perfect for what you're doing.
Yeah.
Like, you are so good at speaking to people. You are so good at making people feel comfortable. And that's you. That's not you, like, putting something on to do that.
Yeah.
You have a bit of a sales background. You have, like, this corporate background where you were talking to, like, Fortune 500 companies and, just immediately jumping in without any preparation to do, like, huge deals with them.
Yeah.
So I think seeing you, like, in your authentic self doing that is one of my goals, and seeing, like, how far that can take you.
Yeah.
I think with the content, I want to continue to get better at editing. I think I want to put more videos out.
Nice.
I want to be doing at least 2 a week and then get back to shorts.
Let's go.
Yeah, and, like, the short form content, because the great thing about vendor POVs is once you have your long form content, and here's another tip, you can then just chop up each interaction and make that into a short form really easily. Just, changing from landscape to, what is that? Vertical and...
Yeah, I don't even remember.
Yeah.
Portrait.
Yeah, there you go. You guys know. So, yeah, I think kind of getting back into that, and then letting that, like, us working on this business allow me the time to do other things that I'm really interested in too. So,
yeah,
going to the gym with my friends, and, us eventually moving, which we really want to do.
Yeah, we will.
We'll see when that happens. If you have a place that you love where you live, let us know in the comments, because we're always looking. We're like, should we move to Phoenix? Should we move to SoCal? Should we move to Vegas? Like, we're always looking when we're traveling for places to move. So
we're just waiting for inspiration to hit us and to know.
Yeah.
That's kind of how we do things.
That is, yeah. So let us know if you have the inspiration for us. Other than that, yeah, just continue to, like, grow and learn together. I think it's been one of the most growth promoting things that we've done in our marriage.
Yeah.
Is being in this business together, and that has meant that it's been really, really hard at times.
Yes. Heavy. Sometimes really heavy.
Yeah, and, like, should we be doing this?
Should we be doing this? Should we just quit?
Should we, like, sell all of our Pokemon cards and, call up Clover and, hey, you want to buy us out?
Shout out Clover Cards. Love you guys.
You want to buy us out? No, that's not an actual question. But sometimes we're like, let's just go back to our corporate jobs, and, and it's so much easier.
Yeah.
Because that gives you so much more time for your everyday life. But I don't know, it's been exciting. It's been something that I feel was needed at this time in our life.
For me, and I'll just, put one little plug in, like, why are we doing this?
Yeah.
For me, it comes down to, I didn't know if we could do it.
Yeah.
And
you love to do things that you don't know if you can do.
Exactly.
Like an MMA fight.
Yeah.
And,
I like the idea of living life in a way that, like, you don't know if it's going to be successful, and it's an adventure.
Yeah, I think there's, like, a Japanese concept called misogi, where you do something where you have a 50% chance of failure every year. And so you have, like, a life-defining event every year.
I love it.
And, like, that's kind of what you did. So Jake in 2021 did a marathon. 2022 did different, like, jiu-jitsu tournaments and won all of them. 2023.
So many kind words.
Well, true words. 2023 did an MMA fight, submitted him in 2.5 minutes.
Yeah.
And then 2024 started this vendor journey.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're always like pushing the boundaries of what Jake can do.
Yeah.
Which is very cool.
That's very sweet of you to say.
Yeah.
Well, while we're talking about compliments, you've done incredible with this channel. You're an inspiration to, for a fact, I know you're an inspiration to a ton of other content creators, at least in this space.
Yeah.
And I'm sure in others. I know that you have close friends who've started YouTube videos because you have shown them that it can be successful if you're just authentic and tell a true story about yourself and about what you're hoping to do, and you're kind to your audience and that kind of stuff. And so thank you for all of your hard work. As kind of a final farewell for people here, what is the number one best piece of advice for someone who is trying to break into content creating? How what would you say to them if you had 1 minute to give them a piece of advice?
Number one. I think I've said it before, I think it goes back to consume less than you're creating in the space that you want to be creating.
Yeah.
Like the reason that we have so many, like I have brand assets that we continue to use, like the intro and outro and the laughing GIFs and things like that is because I was getting that inspiration from other places than Pokemon vendor content. Like I said, from anime, from Korean dramas, from even Korean cooking shows, like different things where you can draw inspiration to inform what you're making.
Yeah.
But you're not drawing inspiration from the exact same thing that people are making. Like, we love the Bulbasaur.
Yeah, Dylan's great.
We loved watching Entry Doctor.
Yeah.
But I've consumed probably less than an hour of other people's content in this specific space.
Yeah.
And I think that's benefited us.
Yeah.
So, even if you have consumed a lot of the content, just take a little break, look elsewhere, and most importantly, look inside, just let it flow from you and be natural, and know that, because I look back on our first videos and know that it's going to evolve.
Yes.
I look back on our first videos and I'm like, wow, so much that I could be nitpick and whatnot, but you're going to get better with every single video. There's something that you're going to improve on or learn.
Yeah.
And so just allow the journey to unfold and don't force it.
I love that. Yeah, and that's true really in anything, Yeah. And for those who haven't made content, maybe a good analogy would be when you first got started in collecting cards, you probably made a lot of dumb decisions. You bought things you shouldn't have bought, or that you didn't really like, or that weren't worth anything. But then as you continue to be involved and to stay committed, you kind of learned those lessons that helps you get to where you are now.
Yeah.
And it's the same thing with content creation, right? That first video, maybe draw the inspiration from other people as it concerns their work ethic and their intention. But then as far as the story you want to tell, definitely make it organic and unique to you.
Yeah.
Love that.
Yeah.
Well, we'll wrap it up there. Thank you so much for chatting. I'm sure we'll have you on future episodes of the ChompCast. We got a lot of fun shows coming up here in the next 6-8 weeks, so we'll post a card at the end of this video to show you guys where we're going to be. And hopefully you get to see more of Franny. She's the best person I've ever met. So,
oh my gosh.
yeah. Till next time, guys. See ya.
Bye.